I'd been living with the headaches for so long, they'd become part of my identity, like my name, my job, the way I take my coffee black with one sugar. They weren't constant, not anymore, but they'd creep in like an old tenant who never fully moved out. A dull throb behind the left eye, usually around 3 p.m., like clockwork. Sometimes it'd flare into something sharper, a stabbing pain that made me close my eyes and press my palm against my temple until it passed. I used to think it was stress. Work, traffic, the endless grind of being a guy in his mid-30s trying to hold down a job, keep a relationship, and pretend he wasn't slowly losing time. My name's Daniel Reeves. I work in insurance, commercial property, to be exact. Not glamorous, not exciting, but steady. I wear button-downs that don't quite fit anymore and drive a 2014 Honda Accord with 117,000 miles on it. My apartment's in a quiet part of Columbus, Ohio, 2 bedrooms, but I only use one. The other's a storage room for boxes I never unpacked after the last move. My girlfriend, Lila, says I'm too practical, like that's a flaw. She's an artist, paints these abstract pieces that look like storms trapped in glass. She says they're about emotion, about chaos and beauty tangled together. I don't always get them, but I hang one in the living room because it makes her happy. Lila's been with me for 3 years now. We met at a friend's barbecue. She was barefoot on the grass, laughing at something stupid I said, and I remember thinking, I want to be the reason she laughs like that. She's got dark curls that fall like ink down her back, and eyes that change color depending on the light, sometimes green, sometimes brown, like the forest after rain. She's passionate. Loud. Alive. And I'm not. I'm the guy who remembers to pay the bills, who fixes the leaky faucet, who brings her tea when she's painting late at night. Maybe that's why it took me so long to go to the doctor. The headaches had gotten worse over the last 6 months. Not just the timing, but the aftermath. I'd feel foggy afterward, like I'd woken up from a dream I couldn't remember. Once, I walked into the kitchen and stood there for a full minute, staring at the fridge, unable to recall why I'd come in. Lila found me like that. "You okay?" she asked, touching my arm. "Yeah," I said. Just spaced out for a second. She frowned. "You've been doing that a lot lately." "I'm fine," I said, because that's what I always say. But I wasn't. Then came the episode at work. I was in a meeting, something about liability caps on warehouse policies, when suddenly the room tilted. Not like dizziness. Like the walls bent inward. The voices around me stretched out, like someone had slowed down a recording. I saw my boss's mouth moving, but the words came in waves, garbled. My vision tunneled. I remember gripping the edge of the table, knuckles white, trying not to pass out. When it passed, maybe 30 seconds, maybe a minute, I looked around. No one had noticed. Or if they had, they didn't say anything. I mumbled something about low blood sugar and left early. That night, Lila sat me down. "You need to see a doctor, Danny." "I've seen doctors," I said. "They say it's tension. Migraines. They gave you meds. You stopped taking them. Because they made me nauseous." She crossed her arms. "You can't just ignore this. What if it's something serious?" "It's not," I said, but even as I said it, a cold finger traced my spine. She was right. I knew she was right. But going to the doctor meant admitting something might be wrong. And if something was wrong with me, what did that mean for us? For our future? We'd talked about marriage. Kids. A house with a yard, maybe out near Dublin, where the schools were good. I didn't want to be the guy who couldn't provide, who couldn't be there. But the next morning, I called my primary care physician. Dr. Patel was a no-nonsense woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and a voice that brooked no argument. She listened to my symptoms, asked about family history. My dad had high blood pressure, my mom was fine, ran a basic neurological check, follow my finger, touch your nose, stand on one leg, and then frowned. These episodes, how often? Maybe once a week now. The headaches, every day. And the confusion? After the bad ones. Lasts a few minutes. Sometimes I forget things. Small things. Where I put my keys. What I was about to say. She wrote something in my file. I'm going to order an MRI. Just to rule things out. Things like what? I asked, my throat tight. Brain tumors. Aneurysms. Structural issues. It's probably nothing, Daniel. But we need to be sure. I nodded, but inside, something cracked. The MRI was scheduled for 2 weeks later. 2 weeks of me Googling symptoms and falling down rabbit holes of medical horror. Could be a glioma. Could be a meningioma. Could be a stroke waiting to happen. I didn't tell Lila most of it. She was worried enough. Instead, I smiled, made dinner, listened to her talk about her new series, Fractured Light, she called it, and pretended my head wasn't a ticking bomb. The day of the scan arrived on a gray Tuesday morning. Rain tapped against the windows of the neurology center, a quiet building tucked behind a CVS and a chiropractor's office. I checked in, filled out forms, changed into a paper gown that barely covered my ass, and sat in a plastic chair, flipping through a 3-year-old Men's Health. They called my name. A technician, early 20s, name tag said Jen, led me down a narrow hallway. You've had an MRI before? She asked. No. Okay, it's simple. You'll lie on a table that slides into the machine. It's loud, like banging and buzzing, so we'll give you earplugs. You have to stay very still. Even a little movement can blur the images. How long? About 40 minutes. I nodded. My palms were sweating. She led me into a room dominated by the MRI machine, a giant white donut with a narrow tunnel in the middle. Cold. Sterile. The air smelled like disinfectant and metal. Just lie back, arms at your sides, Jen said. We'll slide you in. If you feel claustrophobic, there's a squeeze ball. Squeeze it, and we'll stop. I lay down. The table was hard. She placed earplugs in my ears, then a headset over them. The music started, something soft, piano and strings. Calming, I guess, but it felt out of place. Then the table began to move. I slid into the tunnel. Darkness closed around me. The machine hummed to life. Then the noise started, clank, clank, buzz, worth like a robot army marching through my skull. I closed my eyes. Tried to breathe. Tried not to think about being trapped. 40 minutes passed in a blur of sound and stillness. My mind wandered. I thought about Lila. About how she'd kissed me that morning, sleepy and warm, murmuring, "Good luck, babe." I thought about my dad, how he'd worked himself into a heart attack at 58. I thought about the house we might never buy. Finally, it stopped. The table slid out. Jen helped me up. You did great, she said. The radiologist will review the images. Dr. Patel will call you with results. I dressed and left, the paper gown crumpled in the trash. That was Thursday. Friday came and went. No call. Saturday, I went to the grocery store. Lila wanted lemons for a recipe. I stood in the produce aisle, staring at the yellow fruit, when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. Mr. Reeves? This is Dr. Patel's office. The doctor would like to see you first thing Monday morning. Can you come in at 8 a.m.? My stomach dropped. Is something wrong? There was a pause. The doctor will explain. Please come in. I hung up. Stood there. A woman bumped my cart, muttered sorry, and kept walking. I drove home in silence. Lila was in the studio, a converted garage behind the apartment, painting. She was in the zone, brush slashing across the canvas, music blasting, some cello piece that made me feel like I was drowning. I turned it off. She turned, startled. Hey, what are you doing? We need to talk. She saw my face. Put the brush down. What is it? They want me to come in. Monday. First thing. About the MRI? I nodded. Her face went pale. Oh my God. Danny. I don't know what it is. But they wouldn't call me in like that if it was nothing. She came to me, wrapped her arms around me. I held her tight, breathing in the scent of turpentine and lavender shampoo. "We'll go together," she said. "Whatever it is, we'll handle it." I wanted to believe her. But that night, I barely slept. I stared at the ceiling, listening to the hum of the refrigerator, the distant wail of a siren. My head ached, just a dull pressure, but it was there, a constant reminder that something inside me was broken. Monday morning came too fast. I wore my best shirt. Lila held my hand in the waiting room. Dr. Patel came out, nodded at us, and led us back to an exam room. No small talk. She turned on a monitor. Pulled up images, gray, grainy, cross-sections of a brain. My brain. She pointed to a screen. "We got the MRI results. And there's something here we didn't expect." I leaned forward. It was hard to make out at first, just swirls and shadows. But then she zoomed in. There, in the lower left quadrant, near the temporal lobe, was a shape. Dark. Irregular. Not round like a tumor. More like a knot. A tangle of something that didn't belong. "What is it?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Patel didn't answer right away. She studied the image, zooming in further, adjusting contrast. Then she said, "This doesn't make sense." "What doesn't?" She turned to me, her expression unreadable. "Mr. Reeves, I've been reading MRIs for 17 years. I've seen tumors, cysts, scar tissue, vascular malformations. But this," she pointed at the screen. "This shouldn't be here." I stared. On the monitor, embedded in the soft gray matter of my brain, was something dark and coiled like a worm, but not. Like metal, but not. It had edges, structure. It looked artificial. Lila gasped. "What is that?" Dr. Patel shook her head slowly. "I don't know. It's not calcified tissue. It's not a lesion. It's foreign." "Foreign?" I repeated. "As in, not part of your body." I felt the room tilt. "That's impossible," I said. "I've never had brain surgery. I've never." "I know," she said. "And that's what I mean. There's no record of any procedure. No scarring on the skull. No incision. Nothing. Could it be from an accident?" Lila asked. "A fall? Something when he was a kid?" "I'd have to check your medical history," Dr. Patel said, "but even then, this looks deliberate." "Deliberate?" I said, my voice rising. "You're saying someone put something in my head?" She hesitated. "I'm saying I don't know what it is. But it's not natural. And it's been there a while. See these edges?" She pointed. "They're integrated with the tissue. The brain has grown around it. Months. Maybe years." I couldn't speak. I just stared at the screen. At the thing inside my head. Something unexplainable. Something that didn't belong. And as I sat there, heart hammering, hands clenched, one thought cut through the noise. How long has it been watching me? I remember the drive home. Or at least, I remember pieces of it, like someone took a video of my life and cut out whole frames. The rain had started again, soft at first, then steady, tapping against the windshield in a rhythm that matched the pulse behind my left eye. Lila drove. I sat in the passenger seat, my hands in my lap, staring at the dashboard like it might give me answers. I couldn't stop seeing the image on the screen. That thing. Not a tumor. Not a cyst. Not even a shadow or an artifact. It was there. Solid. Structured. Woven into the folds of my brain like a parasite that had long since stopped pretending to be welcome. Dr. Patel had said she'd consult a neurosurgeon, a specialist at Ohio State. She wanted a second opinion. She'd also ordered a CT scan, a full blood panel, and something called a functional MRI to see how the object was affecting brain activity. Whatever it is, she'd said, it's near areas responsible for memory, emotion, and sensory processing. We need to know if it's active. Active. Like it was alive. Like it was doing something. Lila reached over and squeezed my hand. "We'll figure this out, Danny." I nodded, but I didn't believe her. Because deep down, I already knew something was wrong. Not just with my brain, with me. The headaches. The blackouts. The way I'd sometimes wake up in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, heart racing, with no memory of a dream. The way I'd forget whole conversations. The way I'd look at Lila sometimes and feel disconnected. Like I was watching her through a window. And then there was the dreams. I hadn't told Dr. Patel about them. They weren't normal dreams. They were too vivid. Too real. I'd be standing in a room I didn't recognize, white walls, no doors, a single light hanging from the ceiling. There was a chair. A man in a white coat. He'd say things to me, but I couldn't hear the words. Just pressure. Like sound without sound. And every time, I'd wake up with a headache so sharp it made me vomit. I thought they were nightmares. Stress. Trauma from something buried deep. Now I wasn't so sure. When we got home, Lila made tea. Chamomile. She set a mug in front of me, sat across the table, and watched me like I might shatter. "You need to eat," she said. "I'm not hungry." "You haven't eaten since breakfast." I said I'm not hungry. My voice came out harsher than I meant it to. She flinched. I sighed. "I'm sorry. I can't process this." "I know," she said softly. "But you can't shut me out." "I'm not shutting you out. I just need to think." She stood, walked around the table, and knelt beside me, resting her head on my shoulder. "We've been through so much," she whispered. "We'll get through this too." I closed my eyes. But all I could see was that image. That dark, coiled shape embedded in my brain. And then, unbidden, a memory surfaced. Not a dream. A real memory. I was 8 years old. It was summer. Hot. The kind of Ohio summer where the air feels thick enough to chew. I was staying with my dad in Toledo for a few weeks. My parents had been divorced for 2 years by then, and I split summers between them. Dad was a mechanic. He worked long hours, but he always made time for me. We'd go to the lake, play catch, watch old war movies. He was quiet, steady, the kind of man who fixed things with his hands and never raised his voice. One afternoon, he took me to a doctor. Not our regular one. A specialist. Someplace downtown, in a building that didn't look like a clinic. No sign. Just a steel door and a keypad. I remember being nervous. The waiting room was empty. No toys. No magazines. Just gray chairs and a single potted plant that looked dead. A woman in a lab coat came out. She didn't smile. "Daniel Reeves?" I nodded. She led me down a hallway that felt too long, too quiet. The lights buzzed overhead. Then a room. White. Bright. A chair that looked like a dentist's, but different. Straps on the arms. A machine above it with a long, thin needle. "What's that for?" I asked. "No pain," she said. "Just a scan. To help with your headaches." I had been having headaches back then. Not often, but sometimes I'd wake up screaming, my head splitting open. My dad said it was migraines. But this was the first time anyone had mentioned a scan. I sat in the chair. They strapped me in. I remember the cold wipe on my temple. The pressure. A sharp sting. Then nothing. I woke up in the car. Dad was driving. The sun was low. "How do you feel, buddy?" he asked. "Tired," I said. "That's normal. You did great." I didn't remember the scan. Or the needle. Or the room. And when I asked about it later, Dad just said, it was just a test. "You're fine now." I believed him. But now, sitting at my kitchen table with Lila beside me, that memory came rushing back like a wave breaking through a dam. And with it came a terrible thought. They put it in me when I was a child. I stood up so fast I knocked over my tea. Danny? Lila said, startled. I remember, I whispered. I remember. What? What do you remember? I turned to her, my breath coming fast. I was 8. My dad took me to some clinic. They put something in my head. They did something to me. Her eyes widened. What are you talking about? It was a scan, but it wasn't. There was a needle. A machine. They strapped me down. Danny, slow down. You're scaring me. I'm not making this up. I forgot it, but it's there. I can see it. I can feel it. I pressed my palm to my temple. The ache was worse now, deeper, like something was moving. Lila grabbed my shoulders. Okay. Okay. Let's call your dad. Let's find out what happened. I stared at her. You think he'll tell the truth? She hesitated. I don't know. But we have to try. I pulled out my phone with trembling hands and dialed. It rang 4 times. Then his voice, hello? Dad? Danny? Hey, son. What's up? I took a breath. I need to ask you something. When I was 8, you took me to a doctor. In Toledo. Do you remember? Silence. Too long. Then, yeah. I remember. What was it for? Another pause. You were having headaches. They wanted to run tests. What kind of tests? I don't remember the details. It was a long time ago. Dad. There was a machine. A needle. They strapped me to a chair. His voice changed. Tighter. Danny, what are you getting at? I had an MRI yesterday. They found something in my brain. Something that doesn't belong. And I remember now. They put it in me. Silence again. Then, so quiet I almost missed it, oh God. My blood turned to ice. You knew, I whispered. Danny, listen to me. Did you let them do it? It wasn't like that. What was it like, then? Lila grabbed the phone. Mr. Reeves, this is Lila. Daniel's with me. He's scared. We need answers. More silence. Then, I can't talk about this on the phone. Then tell us where to meet you, she said. Another pause. There's a diner. On Route 20. The Blue Lantern. Midnight. Come alone, Danny. Why alone? I said. Because if they're watching, they'll see 2 cars. And if they see 2 cars, they'll know. Who's they? I asked. You'll understand when I tell you. But you have to come alone. And you have to be careful. The line went dead. I stood there, the phone in my hand, my heart pounding. Lila looked at me. You're not going. I have to. He just told you they might be watching you. I need to know, Lila. I need to know what they did to me. What my own father let them do. She grabbed my arm. What if it's a trap? What if it's not? What if he's trying to help? And what if he's part of it? I didn't have an answer. But I knew one thing, I couldn't live like this. Not knowing. Not with it inside me. I'm going, I said. But I'm not going alone. I pulled out my phone again and opened the voice memo app. I hit record. This is Daniel Reeves, I said, my voice shaking. October 12, 6:47 p.m. I'm about to meet my father at the Blue Lantern Diner in Toledo. I believe he has information about an object that was implanted in my brain when I was a child. If anything happens to me, if I disappear, this recording will automatically upload to Lila's phone and to a cloud backup in 12 hours. I looked at her. If I don't come back, go to the police. Go to the news. Tell them everything. She was crying now. I don't want to lose you. You won't, I said. I promise. But as I said it, I felt the headache pulse deep, rhythmic, like a heartbeat that wasn't mine. And for the first time, I wondered. What if it's listening? Midnight. The drive to Toledo took 2 hours. I left Lila at home with the backup plan in place. She begged me not to go. I kissed her and walked out. The rain had stopped, but the roads were slick. The sky was black, no stars, just a heavy blanket of cloud. I kept the windows down, needing air, needing to feel something real. The blue lantern was exactly as Dad described: old, dim, the kind of place truckers and insomniacs haunt at night. A flickering neon sign. A cracked parking lot. I pulled in, killed the engine, and sat there. My phone was recording. Voice memo still running. I checked the time, 11:58. 2 minutes. I stepped out. The air was cold. I zipped up my jacket and walked inside. The diner was nearly empty. An older couple in a booth. A man in a flannel shirt at the counter, nursing coffee. The waitress, name tag said Marge, gave me a tired smile. Sit anywhere, hon. I chose a booth near the back, far from the windows. At exactly midnight, the door opened. Dad walked in. He looked older than I remembered. Grayer. Thinner. His hands trembled slightly as he pulled off his gloves. He saw me. Nodded. Sat across from me. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then he said, "You shouldn't have come." I had to. He looked around the diner. Then leaned in. They've been watching you your whole life, Danny. Who? The people who put it in you. What is it? He hesitated. I don't know what it's called. But it's a neural interface. A prototype. They said it was for research. For enhancing human potential. But it was never about that. Then what was it about? He lowered his voice. Control. I felt the blood drain from my face. They used you as a test subject. You were selected because you were malleable. Quiet. Obedient. They said they'd cure your headaches. Make you smarter. Better. And you believed them? I was desperate. You were waking up screaming every night. Doctors said it was psychological. I didn't know what else to do. So you let them implant something in my brain? They said it was safe. Reversible. But then, you started changing. How? You stopped having headaches. But you started forgetting things. Whole days. And sometimes, you'd say things you couldn't possibly know. Names. Codes. Conversations you weren't part of. I stared at him. What are you saying? I think they were using you to gather information. Testing how far the implant could go. How much it could influence you. They monitored you for years. Then, when the project was shut down, they disappeared. But they never removed it. I felt sick. So all this time, I've been, what? A lab rat? I don't know what you are, Danny. But I do know this: they're still out there. And if they find out you know, they'll come for you. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Because I was afraid. And because I thought it was gone. Buried. I thought you were safe. I looked down at my hands. They were shaking. Then, quietly, does Lila know? He hesitated. No. Are you sure? I'm sure. But something in his voice made me pause. Dad, when was the last time you saw her? He blinked. What? Lila. When did you last talk to her? I don't know. Months ago. Why? Because she knew about the diner. She knew you'd say come alone. She knew to warn me about being watched. His face changed. Danny. And she pushed so hard for me to get the MRI. Like she knew something was there. No, he said, standing. No, you're not thinking straight. But I was. The pieces were clicking together. The headaches. The memory wipe. The dreams. And Lila. Always there. Always pushing. Always watching. I pulled out my phone. Stopped the recording. Then played back the last few minutes. And there, faint but clear, beneath my father's voice, just before he said they'd been watching you your whole life, was a sound. A tone. A single, high-pitched ping. The same tone I'd heard in my dreams. The same tone that played right before I blacked out. I looked up. My father's eyes were wide with fear. "They're in the phone," he whispered. I froze. Then slowly, I turned the device over. And on the back, near the charging port, I saw it. A tiny, hair-thin wire. Not part of the phone. Something attached. Something implanted. Not in my brain. But in my life. And if they were in the phone, where else had they been? The diner went silent. Not really. The hum of the fridge. The clink of a spoon in a coffee cup. Marge the waitress humming some old country tune behind the counter. None of it stopped. But in my head? Silence. Absolute. Because in that moment, as I stared at the thin wire snaking out from beneath my phone's casing like a parasite birthed from plastic and circuitry, the world split in two. There was the world before, the one where I was Daniel Reeves, insurance adjuster, boyfriend, son, a man with headaches and a loving girlfriend and a past that made sense. And then there was this. The world after. Where nothing was real. Where I might not be real. My father's voice cut through the haze. "Danny. Put the phone down. Now." I didn't move. Because I was thinking about Lila. About the way she'd kissed me that morning. The warmth of her lips. The way she'd whispered, "You've got this," like she believed in me. But had she? Or had she known? I remembered the night before the MRI. She'd made me chamomile tea, her calming blend. I joked that she was trying to drug me. She'd laughed, kissed my forehead, said, "Only if it helps." I'd drunk it anyway. And that night, I'd slept like the dead. No dreams. No headaches. Just nothing. Like a system reboot. I looked up at my father. Could they control me? He didn't answer. But his face told me everything. "They didn't just put something in your head," he said quietly. "They used it to shape you. To program you. To make sure you stayed quiet. Obedient. Unaware." "And Lila?" I whispered. "Is she one of them?" He hesitated. Just a second. But it was enough. "She's not who you think she is." The words hit like a punch to the chest. "No," I said. "No, she loves me. She's been with me for 3 years. She's been assigned to you," he interrupted. "For years, I thought you were safe. That the project was dead. But when you called, when you said they found it, I knew they'd react. And the fastest way to control a subject is through emotional leverage." I stood up. My chair scraped against the floor. "You're saying Lila's a spy?" "I'm saying she's part of the network. Maybe not a scientist. Maybe not a soldier. But someone trained to monitor, influence, and contain." "That's insane." "Is it?" "Think, Danny. How did she find you? Where did you meet?" "A barbecue. At Mark's house." "Did you know her before that?" "No." "But did anyone else at that party know her?" I paused. Tried to remember. Faces blurred. Laughter. Beer. Lila barefoot in the grass. I don't know. You never asked how she knew Mark, did you?" I hadn't. "And her art," my father went on. "Those abstract pieces. Ever notice how they always have the same pattern? Hidden in the chaos? Circuits. Frequencies. Codes. I had noticed. I'd thought it was just her style. Now, I wasn't so sure. My hands clenched into fists. Even if she's involved, she cares about me. I can feel it. Or you were made to feel it, he said gently. Love isn't just emotion, Danny. It's chemistry. And chemistry can be manipulated. With the right stimulus, the right frequency, they can make you adore someone. Hate someone. Believe anything. I backed away from the booth. No. I know her. I've seen her cry. I've held her when she was broken. And what if those moments were engineered? What if every tear, every laugh, every touch was designed to keep you compliant? To keep you from asking questions? I wanted to scream. But the headache stopped me. It surged, not behind my eye this time, but deep in the center of my skull, like something was waking up. And with it came a flash. Not a memory. A download. White room. Cold floor. A chair. Wires. A man in a mask. A voice, subject 7 is stable. Initiate emotional conditioning. Pair implant frequency with positive reinforcement. Target, female, age 28, brunette, artistic profile. Designate, Lila. Then, laughter. Sunlight. A hand in mine. I love you, Danny. Then, pain. A shock. A command, forget. Then, nothing. I gasped, staggering back into the wall. My father caught me. Danny! It's in me, I whispered. It's showing me. What? Memories. But not mine. Theirs. He looked terrified. They're activating. They know you're here. They know you're close. We have to go, I said, grabbing his arm. Now. We bolted for the door. But as we stepped into the parking lot, headlights flared. A black SUV pulled into the lot, slow, deliberate. No plates. Windows tinted. My blood turned to ice. They found us, I said. My father shoved me toward my car. Drive. Don't stop. Don't look back. What about you? I'll draw them off. No. Go. He ran toward his truck on the other side of the lot. I dove into my Honda, fumbled with the keys, started the engine. The SUV turned toward me. I slammed the gas. Tires screeched. The car fishtailed on the wet asphalt. I wrenched the wheel, straightened out, and sped toward the highway. In the rearview mirror, I saw my father's truck start up. Then the SUV turned away from me. And followed him. I wanted to stop. To turn back. But I knew he'd done it on purpose. He was buying me time. And if I wasted it, he'd have sacrificed himself for nothing. I kept driving. Back in Columbus, I didn't go home. I couldn't. If Lila was part of it, then the apartment was compromised. My phone. My laptop. My toothbrush, for all I knew. I checked into a motel on the edge of town, cash, no ID, under the name John Smith. Room 7. Flickering neon from the sign outside pulsed red through the thin curtains. I sat on the edge of the bed, still in my coat, my mind racing. The implant. Lila. The memories. The truth. I pulled out my phone. Stared at it. Then, with a pocket knife I kept in my glove compartment, I pried open the back. The wire was there, thin, silver, almost invisible. It connected to a tiny module embedded near the battery. Not part of the original design. I cut it. The phone died instantly. I threw it in the toilet and flushed. Then I sat in the dark, listening to the silence. No hum. No buzz. No phantom tones. Just me. And the thing in my head. I closed my eyes. And waited for it to speak. But it didn't. Instead, it showed me another flash. A lab. Fluorescent lights. Rows of beds. Children. All with wires in their heads. A screen, Project Chimera, Phase 3, Emotional Integration. A file opened. Photo, me, age 8. Name, Daniel Reeves. Status, active. Handler, Lila Voss. Handler. Not girlfriend. Handler. And then, her file. Lila Voss. Born 1989. Recruited at 19. Trained in behavioral conditioning, deep cover infiltration, memory suppression protocols. Specialization, long-term emotional manipulation. Her photo was different. Shorter hair. Cold eyes. No smile. And a note at the bottom. Subject 7 bond established. Love simulation successful. Implant synchronization at 94%. Proceed to Phase 4, activation. I opened my eyes, gasping. It wasn't love. It was programming. Every I love you, every touch, every night she curled against me, it was all part of the experiment. I had never been her boyfriend. I had been her project. And now that I knew, they'd activate Phase 4. Whatever that was. I needed proof. I needed answers. And I knew where to find them. The next morning, I drove to Lila's studio. The garage behind our apartment. I hadn't been inside in days. She'd been working on a new piece, Fractured Light, she called it. Said it was about breaking through illusion. Now I wondered if it was a message. I used my spare key. The door creaked open. The space was dark, the air thick with turpentine and oil. Canvases leaned against the walls, some finished, others half-painted, chaotic swirls of color. And in the center, on the easel, Fractured Light. I stepped closer. It was a mess of reds and blacks, shattered lines, like glass breaking outward. But in the center, barely visible beneath layers of paint, was a pattern. A circuit. And beneath it, numbers. Coordinates? I didn't know. But then I saw it. Taped to the back of the canvas, a flash drive. Labeled, For Danny. If you're reading this, you're awake. My hand shook as I plugged it into my laptop, another burner phone I'd bought with cash. A single file. Video. I clicked play. Lila's face filled the screen. But not the Lila I knew. This one was pale. Exhausted. Her hair pulled back. No makeup. And her eyes, no warmth. Just fear. Danny, she said, voice low. If you're seeing this, it means you've seen the implant. And you've started remembering. She paused, swallowed. I don't have much time. They're watching. But I had to try. I had to tell you the truth. My breath caught. I wasn't supposed to fall in love with you. She smiled, but it was sad. But I did. For real. Not the simulation. Not the programming. Me. The real me. Somewhere under all the training, I felt it. And when they ordered me to push you toward the MRI, I knew it was a trap. That if they found the implant active, they'd activate you. Activate? I whispered. The final protocol, she said. They call it reclamation. It wipes your conscious mind and reboots the implant. You'll still look like Danny. You'll still say you love me. But it won't be you anymore. It'll be a puppet. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I tried to protect you. I delayed the scans. I gave you false meds. But they know. And they're coming. Where are you? I asked the screen. She leaned closer. There's a facility. Outside Sandusky. Old military bunker. That's where they developed the implant. Where they'll take you. I'll try to get you the access codes. But you have to promise me one thing. What? If it's too late, if they've already started the process, you have to run. Don't fight. Don't come for me. Just disappear. Because if they rebuild you, the real Danny is gone. The video ended. I sat there, stunned. She had loved me. Not because of the implant, but in spite of it. And now she was risking everything to save me. I grabbed the flash drive and made a decision. I wouldn't run. I'd go to Sandusky. I'd find the facility. And I'd destroy it. All of it. The project. The implant. The lies. Because if I was going to be erased, I'd make damn sure they had nothing left to rebuild. The road to Sandusky cut through flat Ohio farmland, fields stretching out under a steel gray sky like a forgotten prayer. I drove with the windows down, the cold autumn air biting my face, trying to keep myself awake, trying to keep it asleep. The implant. It hadn't shown me anything new since the motel. No flashes. No downloads. Just that constant, low throb behind my eyes, like a dormant engine waiting for the key. But I could feel it. Watching. Listening. Learning. Lila's flash drive had given me coordinates, a schedule, and 3 access codes labeled Alpha, Beta, and Omega. The last one made my skin crawl. Omega. Final phase. Endgame. According to the file sheet smuggled out, the facility was an abandoned Cold War-era bunker repurposed by a black-budget research division called Project Chimera. Officially, it didn't exist. Funded through shell corporations, staffed by ex-military neuroscientists and behavioral engineers, its goal was simple. Create the perfect obedient human. Not through force. Not through fear. Through love. They'd started with children, orphans, foster kids, children of indebted parents, implanting experimental neural interfaces during routine medical procedures. Then, over years, they'd shaped their personalities, memories, and emotions using targeted frequencies to suppress rebellion, enhance compliance, and simulate deep emotional bonds with assigned handlers. I was one of hundreds. But I was also different. According to Lila's notes, I was Subject 7, the first long-term test of emotional reconditioning after awareness. Meaning, if a subject discovered the truth, could love be used to pull them back into compliance? And she was my handler. My test. But somewhere between the lies and the programming, something real had grown. And that was a flaw in the system. A glitch. And glitches get erased. I checked the rear view. No one was following. But that didn't mean they weren't ahead. The facility wasn't on any map. But the GPS on my burner phone led me to a rusted chain-link fence, half-collapsed, hidden behind a grove of dead pines. Beyond it, a concrete slab jutted from the earth like a tombstone, ventilation shafts, camouflaged with fake trees. No signs. No lights. Just silence. I parked a mile away, hiked through the woods, and approached on foot. The air smelled like damp concrete and something else, chemical. Sterile. Like a hospital basement. I found a service entrance, steel door, keypad, camera mounted above. The camera was dark. Lila had disabled it, she said, for a 12-minute window. I had 8 minutes left. I entered Alpha. The door clicked. It opened. Inside, a narrow corridor, flickering fluorescent lights, the hum of distant machinery. The walls were lined with pipes, some dripping, others wrapped in black insulation. A sign, Level 1, Observation. I moved fast. No guards. No alarms. But I felt them. Watching. Not with eyes. With signals. I pulled the knife from my jacket. Not for fighting. For what I might have to do. Level 2 was worse. Cells. Glass-fronted rooms. Beds with restraints. Monitors showing brainwave patterns, heart rates, hormone levels. One room had a child, maybe 10, wired to a machine, eyes open but unseeing, whispering numbers in a loop. 739124739. I wanted to free him. But I knew if I did, the whole facility would lock down. And I'd never reach the core. I kept moving. Level 3, Neurocontrol. A control room. Banks of monitors. Empty chairs. But the systems were live. Data flowing. Feeds from cameras. GPS trackers. And one screen, blinking red. Subject 7, active. Location, facility interior. Status, unauthorized access. Protocol Omega, initiated. My breath stopped. They knew. And Omega wasn't just about wiping me. It was about activating me. Turning me into a weapon. The file said Omega used a high-frequency pulse to override the conscious mind, leaving only the implanted directives. No pain. No struggle. Just obedience. And the first directive? Eliminate threats. Including Lila. I ran. Deeper. Down a stairwell. Into the basement. And there it was. Chamber 7. A circular room, white walls, a single chair in the center, straps dangling, electrodes coiled like snakes. Above it, a massive machine, a halo of black rods, pulsing with blue light. The reclamation console. This was where they'd reset me. Where they'd erase Daniel Reeves. And build someone else in his place. I stepped inside. And on the table beside the chair, my file. I opened it. Photo, me, age 8. Eyes wide. Scared. Beneath it, implant model, G7X. Function, memory modulation, emotional conditioning, remote suggestion. Status, active. Synchronization, 94%. Then, a note in red ink. Subject exhibits unexpected emotional resilience. Handler, Lila Voss, shows signs of attachment deviation. Recommend immediate Omega activation and handler termination. Handler termination. They were going to kill her. And I was going to do it. Unless I stopped it. I looked at the console. There was a manual override. A physical kill switch bright red behind a glass panel. But it required Omega code to activate. I had it. Lila had given it to me. But if I used it, the system would send a final pulse into the implant. A pulse that could destroy it. Or destroy me. The files warned, G7X is integrated with brainstem. Removal or deactivation may result in catastrophic neural failure. Subject survival, 12%. 12%. I laughed, a dry, broken sound. All this time, I thought the headaches were the worst thing. But they weren't pain. They were prison walls. And now, the only way out might be death. I pulled out the knife. And made my choice. I didn't use the code. Not yet. First, I needed to find Lila. The file mentioned a quarantine wing where handlers who deviated were held for reprocessing. I found it behind a biometric door. I used beta code. It opened. The wing was dark, cells lined with observation glass. Most were empty. But one wasn't. She was sitting on the edge of a cot, head in her hands. Lila. Her hair was shorter. She wore a gray jumpsuit. No paint. No light in her eyes. But when she looked up and saw me, something flickered. Hope. Fear. Love. I tapped on the glass. She stood, stunned. I entered the code. The door hissed open. She didn't run to me. She just stared. Danny, you weren't supposed to come. I had to. You don't understand. If they see us together. I know. Omega. Reclamation. I'm supposed to kill you. Her eyes filled. Then why didn't you? Because I remember, I said. Not just the programming. The real moments. The way you laughed when I burned toast. The way you held my hand during thunderstorms. The way you looked at me when you thought I wasn't watching. Tears fell. That was all real. I was real. I know, I whispered. And I love you. Not because of the implant. But because of you. She stepped forward. touched my face. And then, softly, then you have to go. Now. Before they lock it down. I'm not leaving without you. It's too late for me. They've already started reprocessing. I can feel it. The fog. The commands. In an hour, I won't even know your name. No, I said. We're getting out. Together. She shook her head. There's another way. Use the Omega code. Shut down the console. It'll kill the network. Free everyone. At the cost of your life? Maybe. But if you don't, they'll turn you into a killer. And I'd rather die than watch that happen. I gripped her hand. Then I made my second decision. No more running. No more fear. I'm ending this. I pulled her out of the cell. We ran. Back to Chamber 7. The console was flashing. Omega Pulse, 5 minutes. I entered the code. The system beeped. Confirm deactivation? Y/N. I hesitated. Lila took my hand. If you die, she said, I'll find a way to remember you. Even if they erase me. I'll fight it. Every second. I kissed her. Long, deep. Like it was the last thing I'd ever do. Then I pressed yes. The pulse hit me like a freight train. White light. Silence. Then nothing. I woke up on the floor. The console was dark. The lights were out. The facility was dead. I sat up. My head. Quiet. No throb. No pressure. No whispers. I reached up, touched my temple. And for the first time in my life, I felt free. I turned. Lila was beside me, unconscious but breathing. I shook her. Her eyes opened. She looked at me. And for a second, I was afraid. Would she know me? Would the real her still be in there? Then she whispered, Danny? Relief flooded me. I'm here. You did it, she said, weak. You're really you. I helped her up. We found the exit. Dawn was breaking as we stumbled out of the bunker, into the cold morning air. No alarms. No pursuit. Just silence. And the sun. We didn't go back to Columbus. We couldn't. Too many memories. Too many traps. We drove west. Changed our names. Found a small town in Colorado. A cabin near the mountains. No internet. No phones. Just wood stoves, snow, and quiet. It took months. For me, to learn how to live without the constant hum in my skull. For her, to shake the fog of reprocessing. But we did it. Together. Sometimes, I still dream of the white room. Of the chair. Of the voice saying, forget. But now, when I wake up, I look at Lila. And I remember. Not because of a machine. Not because of a program. But because I choose to. Because love isn't just chemistry. It's defiance. It's memory. It's two broken people who were never meant to be free. And who became real anyway. They found the bunker 6 months later. Flooded. Collapsed. No records. No bodies. The official report called it a gas leak. But sometimes, late at night, when the wind howls through the pines, I think I hear a signal. Faint. Distant. Like a heartbeat from the dark. And I hold Lila closer. Because they're still out there. And if they ever find us, I won't be afraid. Because this time, I'll be ready. And I'll make sure they never take her from me. Not again. Not ever. Thank you for walking this journey with Daniel. This completes the full arc of your original outline, starting with a man discovering something impossible in his brain, unraveling a conspiracy of control, confronting betrayal, and ultimately reclaiming his identity and love against all odds. If you'd like a PDF version, a title, or to expand this into a full novel with additional chapters, character backstories, or alternate endings, just let me know.